Hey, how's she going, boys? Mike here. Welcome back to Grampie's Workshop in the continuing saga of Will My Bandsaw Cut Straight? Okay, I think what I've done is I've exhausted all my opportunities and options for tuning the bandsaw. The only thing left now, I think, is put a new blade on it. So what I did the other day is I went to town and I wanted to get myself a good blade. But I live here in central part of Nova Scotia, in around Pictou County, and New Glasgow's the sort of commerce hub of the county. So I went there to look for my bandsaw blades, and the pickings are pretty slim in there. I looked around all different places. Anyway, I found this one. It's a Bosch blade. Bosch, when you read about Bosch, it's probably a middle of the road kind of a saw blade. Now I'm saying I found this one as if I had lots of choice. This was the only one I found. Alright, that fit my saw. 93.5 inches long is how long this blade is. I was wanting to get maybe a little bit wider than what I had, but I couldn't. All I had, this was the only 93.5 inch blade I could find in Pictou County, so I bought it. Alright, I think it was around $23 too. So, but anyway, this is a 1/4 inch blade, 6 teeth per inch, and that's what's on the saw right now is a 1/4 inch, 6 teeth per inch. When I first checked that blade, I thought it was an 1/8 inch, but I found out since then how you measure the width of blades. The width of the blade goes from the flat back to the tip of the teeth, and I always thought it went from the flat back to the gullet. So that's where I made my mistake. But anyway, that's a 1/4 inch blade that's on there. This is a 1/4 inch, 6 teeth per inch. We're going to loosen off all the adjustments I have on the saw right now, and we're going to install this, set it all up, and see if this will cut straight. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to loosen off my guide blocks here and the thrust washer, or thrust bearing. I'm going to do this on the top and the bottom. And I'm going to turn down the tension. Of course, you're doing all this with the saw unplugged, right? Don't forget that. The answer to all our problems, right? The saw is going to cut straight now, boys. We just have to make sure we install this the right way. So right now, just as I open this blade, it can only go on the saw one way, and if I put it on that way, it's upside down, because we need the teeth to be cutting as the blade goes down. This way the teeth are the wrong way. So all you do is just turn it inside out. Just like that. And guess what? Now it's cutting the right way. So, pass that through here, around here. So just a little bit of tension, and then you can turn the wheel to get it to track correctly. So I'm tracking this so that the gullet is just about at the crown of the rubber band on the wheel, or what I think is just about the crown, and that looks like it. Now I'll tension it. So after checking many YouTube videos and whatnot, the best place to check the tension is right about here, and if you can push that, it should deflect it about 1/4 inch. Without too much force, and it does. And also on the back here, the index is just at the 1/4 inch bandsaw mark. So that tension, I'm going to say, is okay. Now what I want to do is, while I have my throat plate out, I'm going to set the bottom guide blocks. You've seen me set guide blocks before, so you don't have to watch me do that. But I'll just set them up here. I guess I'll set the thrust washer first, or thrust bearing first. Check that blade, how parallel that blade is to the miter slot. 2 5/8, 2 1/4. Two and a quarter. Now I can put the throat plate back in. Nice. Okay, now we're going to put the upper blade guard on. Tracking good, tension's good, guide block set, thrust washer set, bottom guide block set, bottom thrust washer or bearing set, throat plate's back in, blade is parallel with the fence. I guess there's nothing left to do but start her up and try it. Now I have another piece of wood because I'm going to try this test again. I'm going to cut freehand along that line and then stop at this mark. So you can see by the twist the difference here between the wood and the miter slot, that there is a twist in this, and I'm not sure what's causing that because this is a brand new blade, but at any rate we'll just assume that there's going to be a twist in it. Before I go anywheres, I want to clamp my piece here. Line our fence up here. Remove the clamp on the workpiece. And now try to finish the cut and see how straight the back half of this is. Well, I'll be. Okay, this was my jointed surface, and I put that on my left, be your right, and that ended up against the fence. I cut from this end to this mark, freehand, as best I could along that line, just to get a sense of how straight the saw was cutting and finding the natural drift of the saw. Turns out the drift is not parallel to the miter gauge slot. I don't know if that's good or bad, but anyway, that's what it is. Then I set my fence against this piece on this side, and then I continued to push the workpiece through the blade, through the bandsaw, and you see it cut pretty doggone straight right there. So we're going to measure that with my verniers. I guess it's measuring 9.5. Get around there, you. 9.5 on that end. Well, I can make it read I can make it read 9.5 to try to convince me that it is cutting straight and parallel. So what do you think of that? The saw does cut straight. Hey, my bandsaw can cut straight. You can tune a bandsaw. I told you. But anyways, I wasn't the only guy telling. I want to thank all the viewers out there that added comments, and in the comments the tips and suggestions and advice and hints about things I can do with my saw to make it cut straight. I'm telling you, you're just a fountain of knowledge. It's just unbelievable, the information that you can get from people watching YouTube, and also from watching YouTube, of course. But you people out there, like, everybody knows a little bit about something, and when you share it on YouTube, then we all grow from that, right? So that's wonderful. So thanks for that. I did get my saw to cut straight. I think the biggest improvement I made in the saw was a new blade. I thought the blade on my saw was good. Turns out it wasn't. I think the set was not correct on it. But I think the big reason too why the saw was wandering when it was cutting, not just drifting but wandering, was the tension was not correct. So I would say that the order of things you should check in your saw to make it cut straight, which first of all would be have a good blade. Number one, have a good blade. Number two, make sure the tension is decent. It's hard to say what's correct, but make sure that it's decent. The third thing is make sure that it's tracking correct. Now I find if I change the tracking of my band, it'll affect the way the saw cuts a lot. So I'm thinking tracking is number three. Number four is guide block and thrust washer or thrust bearing setup. Alright, so I think I'm sure I could cut just as well without the guide blocks. The thrust bearing maybe not so much, because you need that support on the back of the blade. You don't want to push the blade away too far or else it will twist. So the thrust washer or thrust bearing is important. The guide block's not as important, but I think that's number 4 for getting your saw to cut straight. Alright, so we had quite a little series here on trying to get my bandsaw to cut straight, but we did tune a bandsaw and it will cut straight. We know that now. I've got proof and I've got it on tape, so I'll always have that. Thanks very much for watching, folks. Thanks for all your comments. Thanks for your patience tuning in and watching me try to fuss with my saw here to make it cut straight. I really appreciate that. And if you're new to the channel, thanks for dropping by. I'm glad you're able to find me. Please give me a thumbs up and come back and see me often. And for the rest of you, appreciate your time and your the patience you have tuning in with me watching my videos. Anyways, folks, take care. I gotta go make some straight cuts of my bandsaw, so we'll talk to you later.